Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the lives of history's most fascinating military leaders and warriors. I'm your host, General Biography, and today we're going to explore the extraordinary life of Boudicca, the ancient Celtic queen who led a rebellion against the Roman Empire that would become one of the most legendary in history. Born around 2530 AD in the region of modern-day Norfolk, England, Boudicca was a member of the Iceni tribe, a powerful and influential Celtic people who inhabited the eastern part of Britain. Her early life was shaped by the traditions and values of her people, as well as the tumultuous historical context of ancient Britain. The Romans had invaded Britain in 43 AD, and by the time Boudicca was born, much of southern Britain was under Roman control. As a child, Boudicca would have grown up in a world where the sounds of laughter and storytelling filled the air, and the smell of smoke from cooking fires wafted through the villages. She would have learned about the myths and legends of her people, including the stories of great warriors and leaders who had fought against the Romans. Her family's home, likely a large roundhouse made of wood and thatch, would have been filled with the sounds of conversation and music, as well as the smell of cooking and baking. Boudicca's father, whose name is not recorded in history, was likely a chieftain or noble of the Iceni tribe. He may have been a client king of the Romans, which would have meant that he owed allegiance to the Roman Empire in exchange for protection and support. This complex web of alliances and rivalries between the Celtic tribes and the Roman Empire would have had a profound impact on Boudicca's early life, shaping her understanding of power, loyalty, and rebellion. As she entered adulthood, Boudicca would have become increasingly aware of the tensions between the Iceni tribe and the Roman Empire. The Romans had imposed their own system of government, laws, and taxes on the Celtic tribes, which would have been deeply resented by many. The Iceni kingdom, however, remained a client state, with its rulers maintaining a degree of autonomy in exchange for loyalty to Rome. It was around this time that Boudicca met her future husband, Prasutagus, a chieftain or noble of the Iceni tribe. The exact circumstances of their meeting are unknown, but it's likely that they were introduced through family connections or at a gathering of tribal leaders. Prasutagus was a wealthy and influential man with ties to the royal family, and his marriage to Boudicca would have solidified her position within the Iceni kingdom. As Boudicca entered married life, she would have been expected to fulfill the traditional roles of a Celtic woman, including managing the household, raising children, and participating in ritual ceremonies. However, it's clear that Boudicca was no ordinary woman. She was intelligent, charismatic, and fiercely determined, with a deep understanding of the politics and power dynamics of her time. With her marriage to Prasutagus and the birth of their daughters, Boudicca's life was about to take a dramatic turn, setting her on a path that would lead her to become one of history's most legendary warrior queens. The seeds of rebellion were already being sown as the Iceni tribe grew increasingly frustrated with Roman rule and the injustices perpetrated against them. With the death of her husband Prasutagus around 60 AD, Boudicca found herself at the helm of the Iceni kingdom, determined to protect her family and her people from the injustices perpetrated by the Romans. The Roman Empire, under the rule of Emperor Nero, had been increasingly exploiting the Celtic tribes, imposing heavy taxes and disrespecting their traditions. The spark that ignited Boudicca's rebellion was the brutal treatment of her daughters by the Roman soldiers. According to historical accounts, including those by the Roman historian Tacitus, Boudicca's daughters were raped and mutilated by the Roman soldiers, an act that would have been considered a grave offense against the honor and dignity of the Iceni tribe. This event, combined with the confiscation of her husband's property and the mistreatment of her people, pushed Boudicca to take drastic action. Boudicca's rebellion began around 60–61 AD, with a series of coordinated attacks on Roman cities and towns in eastern Britain. The Iceni warriors, led by Boudicca, targeted the cities of Camulodunum, Londinium, and Verulamium. These cities were major centers of Roman power and commerce, and their destruction would have dealt a significant blow to the Roman Empire's control over Britain. As the rebellion gained momentum, Boudicca became a unifying figure for the Celtic tribes, who saw her as a champion of their rights and freedoms. Her leadership was marked by cunning, bravery, and strategic thinking, as she exploited the weaknesses of the Roman army and leveraged the terrain to her advantage. The Iceni warriors, using guerrilla tactics and ambushes, were able to inflict significant casualties on the Roman legions, who were largely unprepared for the ferocity and determination of their opponents. One of the most striking aspects of Boudicca's rebellion was its sheer scale and intensity. According to estimates, up to 70,000 Romans and Britons may have been killed in the conflict, with many more displaced or forced to flee. The destruction of Camulodunum, Londinium, and Verulamium was so complete that archaeologists have found evidence of widespread burning and devastation at these sites. Despite the initial successes of her rebellion, Boudicca ultimately faced defeat at the hands of the Roman governor, Gaius Suetonius Paulinus. The Battle of Watling Street, fought around 61 AD, marked a turning point in the conflict, as the Roman legions, led by Paulinus, were able to regroup and launch a decisive counterattack against the Iceni warriors. Her bravery, cunning, and leadership inspired a generation of Celtic warriors, and her legacy has endured for centuries as a symbol of resistance against oppression. According to the Roman historian Cassius Dio, Boudicca poisoned herself, while others suggest that she may have died of illness or been killed in battle. Despite the defeat of her rebellion, Boudicca's legacy endured for centuries as a symbol of resistance against oppression. Her bravery and leadership inspired a generation of Celtic warriors, and her name became synonymous with courage and determination. The Roman historian Tacitus, who wrote one of the most detailed accounts of Boudicca's rebellion, described her as a woman of great intelligence and courage beyond that of a woman. In the centuries that followed, Boudicca's legend only grew, with many regarding her as a heroine and a champion of British freedom. Her rebellion marked a turning point in British history, as it led to significant changes in the way the Romans governed their provinces. The Roman Empire, realizing that its heavy-handed approach had sparked widespread resentment, began to adopt more conciliatory policies towards its subjects. Boudicca's impact on British culture and identity cannot be overstated. She has been celebrated in literature, art, and music for centuries, with many writers and artists drawing inspiration from her story. From the 16th century playwrights who wrote about her rebellion to the modern-day feminist movements that have adopted her as a symbol of female empowerment, Boudicca's legacy continues to captivate audiences around the world. Today, visitors to eastern Britain can still see remnants of the cities that Boudicca's warriors destroyed, including the ruins of Camulodunum and Londinium. These archaeological sites serve as a testament to the enduring power of Boudicca's rebellion and the lasting impact it had on British history. As the Roman historian Tacitus so eloquently put it, Boudicca's name will live on forever, a symbol of the indomitable will to resist tyranny and oppression. In the words of Boudicca herself, as recorded by Cassius Dio, this is a woman's resolve, to win or die. Her legacy continues to inspire us today, reminding us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, one person can make a difference. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.